Hello again. All right, so we're starting chapter 13 in business math, which is called personnel. So this is lesson 13.1, hiring new employees. The first couple of lessons here aren't too terribly bad. You're going to do some pretty basic calculations. So these aren't going to be super long videos at the beginning here, especially. So remember, as always, you should be reading through the sections to get the background information for this new concept, and taking a look at the formulas they give you, the examples, how they walk through it in the book. Don't just jump straight over to the worksheet and hope that it gives you everything that you need. You definitely should be reading the chapter. All right, so that being said, they do give you a little piece here. Whoops, I need to change. I need to turn this off. There we go. So they do give you a little summary piece here. And then they also usually give you some kind of formula right underneath it. So for this one, the summary, it's generally a very quick couple sentences about what this section was about. Doesn't always give you everything you need to know to understand this situation, or not situation, but concept. So to fill openings in your business, you can either recruit new employees or pay an employment agency to locate a candidate for you. The cost of recruiting may include advertising fees, interviewing expenses such as travel costs for the job candidates, and hiring expenses such as moving costs for the new employees. So it just gives you a quick idea, cost money to hire employees. So total recruiting costs equals the advertising expenses plus the interviewing expenses plus the hiring expenses. So you just have to add all of your expenses together that go directly, that come directly from hiring that employee. So an interviewing expenses is not just about interviewing one person, because to get the person who finally did receive the job or get offered the job, you may have had to interview other people. So you have to put all the interviewing expenses together. All right, so first we start off with this table, and remember, you only have to fill in tables if it's actually, has the problem numbers next to it. Sometimes they do just give you a table, and you don't have to just fill that out if it's a reference table. So just, keep that in mind. This one does have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on it. So these are our first 5 problems. And they give us interviewing expenses, hiring expenses. So if we want the total recruiting cost, like they just showed us up here, all we're going to do is add these columns together. So we're going to add these 3 columns together, and that'll give us our total here. So this one, super basic. We're just adding the 3 columns on all 3 of these. So I'm going to let you guys do these calculations. Not too bad there. Now we're going to go down. Let's look at the word problem here. So Commerce Bank hired Pete Drexel as its new branch office manager at an annual salary of $59,500. Advertising costs were $421.26. Interview expenses for Drexel were $85.25, and for Lindsay were $94.60. Search agency fee, 15% of their first annual salary. What was the total cost of recruiting Pete Drexel for this position? So this is where I was talking about. It's not just about interviewing that one person that did end up getting the job. It's everybody that was interviewed. So if you had to interview 12 people in order to get to that one person who, was finally the perfect fit, you have to add up all the costs for all of those people. In this case, it's only 2. So we want to make sure we add these 2 together here. That'll give us our total interview expenses. So we need a number here. I'm going to, again, let you guys do that calculation. Super easy. You just need to add them together. So we have our advertising costs. We'll have our interview expenses. Sorry. They changed it from expenses to costs. Same wording, or same thing. It's just different wording. Interview expenses, just add these together. So now we have search agency fee. So we need to make sure that we calculate this out so that we also include this in our hiring expenses. I believe that would go to the hiring expenses. Let's see. Travel. They don't necessarily tell you exactly where search agency would fit, but I would imagine that would go into hiring expenses. They would kind of lump that into that one. All right, so we're going to go 15% of, so of means times the total cost, or their first year's salary. like this. So we're going to multiply, and again, we're going to end up with another number here. This is giving our the search agency fee of 15%, which is the hiring expenses. So once we have our three numbers, again, we just add them together and we'll have our total recruitment costs. So down below for algebra, remember algebra doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be harder. It just means they want you to think about what did you just learn and how do I apply that? A lot of the time they'll give you the total and they want you to go back and find a missing piece. That happens quite a bit. So 4 candidates from Universal Executive Search, Inc. are interviewed by Canal Investment Company for the position of Chief Financial Officer, CFO. The travel costs of the 4 candidates are, I'm going to kind of skip over and not read all of that. Carlisle spent $4,500 on advertising and paid Universal Executive Search, Inc. 20% of the starting salary. If Canal spent $36,357.95 in total recruitment costs, what starting salary did it pay its new CFO? So the only thing we don't know is the new starting salary. So that's what we want to answer. What was the starting salary? I'm going to scooch this up a little bit. Boop. So I'm going to help kind of set up the equation here. I'm going to, again, let you guys kind of finish it off. So remember, we know the total recruiting costs. They told us that was $36,357.59. Sorry, my board almost fell down here. And that equals these 3 expenses added together. So it tells us for the 4 candidates, there were travel costs. And travel costs go into interviewing expenses. So we would add these 4 travel costs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we would, here's travel costs. Travel costs. So we would add those 4 travel costs together. And then we already know that they had advertising. So we would add the advertising in here. Plus, we also know that they paid 20% of the starting salary to the search agency. So we simply just say 20% times our starting salary. So I always use like something like this. So S, sorry, I didn't define it over here. S is starting salary, like that. So the only thing I didn't write out here, you can very easily write out travel costs. I just didn't write out each one. You're going to put the actual numbers in here for each travel cost and add them together. Okay, so I just didn't do that piece for you. So once you have that number, then you're going to add the 4,500 to it. And once you combine those like terms, now you're down to a basic 2-step equation from algebra, where you do addition, subtraction first from one side of the equation to the other, and then you do multiplication, division from one side of the equation to the other. So I'll go ahead and let you guys finish that off. I know I didn't really do this whole one, but it's a little bit more basic stuff on this one as far as the calculation. I just wanted to make sure that you understand how to set up the equation. So make sure you understand too, algebra doesn't mean it's going to be harder. It just means take what they gave you up here, what did we just learn, and how do I apply that to this problem, to this situation? And a lot of the time it's going to be something along the lines of a single missing piece, and you just have to simplify until you find what that piece needs to be in order to get this total. All right, I hope that helped, and I will see you in section 2.